So you're not a Trump lover?
No. We're more than happy to help the Department of Justice in their little investigation.
Okay. Like how?
Basically give him every single tweet that he's posted.
Okay.
Even the ones he's deleted.
Okay.
Any direct messages. Any mentions. Oh yeah. I don't like being part of the machine that is contributing to the America's downfall.
You should look at junior and senior and see what's in there. You know what I mean?
We can absolutely look at every single message, every single tweet, whatever you logged into, what profile pictures you uploaded, what profile pictures that you thought you were going to do.
Are you working with DOJ currently on that? Do you have access to DMs of Twitter?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it's better to see what he's saying and being able to correct it, speak up against it.
I'd go and change like Trump's tweets. My kind of job required like full power.
We're more than happy to help the Department of Justice in their little investigation. Basically give him every single tweet that he's posted.
Okay.
Even the ones he's deleted.
Okay.
Any direct messages.
Good.
Any mentions. Oh yeah.
No, these are like private messages.
Both private and public messages.
Like DMs too.
Yeah.
Veritas believes in the power of free people. If they're just giving information, if they're giving the truth, they'll make the right decisions. So we're putting on the disguise for tonight's meeting play. In our continuing American Pravda series, we shift our focus from mainstream media to social media. Twitter likes to call itself the global town square, but in reality, they want to control thought, ideas, and even our political system itself. But don't take my word for it. Watch Twitter employees admit some very ugly truths about the way they run their global town square. It should make you rethink the way you see the world. And this is just part one.
What's your title?
Network security engineer.
Okay.
I call it the bouncer of the network.
The bouncer of the network.
Yeah.
So you kind of make engineering like look kind of cool.
Something like that.
This is Clay Haynes, a.k.a. James Clayton Haynes. He is a senior network security engineer at Twitter. And he told our undercover journalist just days ago what sounded like an admission that Twitter is privately sharing President Trump's Twitter account activity with the Justice Department.
So you're not a Trump lover?
No.
So why can't you at Twitter just push everything he has to say?
Okay, so that is the latest from Project Veritas. You can find that at projectveritas.com. James O'Keefe and his crew over there are true American heroes, true journalistic heroes. They ought to win a shelf full of Pulitzer Prizes and any journalistic prize out there. But folks, you need to support InfoWars now more than ever at InfoWarsStore.com. We don't get up here and complain about how much they censor us. Believe me, we could do a whole show, but we don't want to air our dirty laundry on the air. We just want to bring you news. But folks, it's very real. They want to censor us. They want to shut us down. We need your support. We'll be right back with Roger Stone.
That's right. You're at Freedom Command Central. It's Roger Stone and Owen Schroyer right here at the War Room. A stunning piece of film by our friend James O'Keefe at Project Veritas, pulling back the curtains on exactly what the tech left has in mind. Whether it's Amazon, Google, Facebook, or Twitter, these are the new censors. These are the internet message Nazis. A good friend of mine is an investor in a terrific new documentary called the Roe v. Wade movie. This movie demonstrates how Planned Parenthood manipulated the media, Jane Doe herself, and the courts to allow wholesale legal abortion in the United States. And now, incredibly, their website, which is www.roevwademovie.com, has disappeared from Facebook. That's right, blocked from Facebook. You can't go there from Facebook. What kind of censorship is that? So, folks, this is a documentary well worth your time. They're on in a crowdfunding site raising the money for broader distribution of the Roe v. Wade movie. So go to www.roevwademovie.com and give them your support. Disclaimer, we here at InfoWars, and I personally, have no interest whatsoever in this terrific project, but we are offended by Facebook's unilateral move to censor these believers in the freedom of ideas. Owen, this is really an extraordinarily lead-in from the Alex Jones show, because it appears to me, working on reports that you and I, working with our colleague Tyler Nixon, first revealed yesterday on The War Room, we had only, there it is, Roe v. Wade, the movie. This is a terrific project, folks. You can find them at Indiegogo. It is well worth your time. You might want to consider a contribution to bring this terrific documentary to a broader American audience, at the same time sticking your thumb directly in the eye of Facebook. And getting back to the incredible revelations here laid out on the Alex Jones show, yesterday, you and I, working with our colleague Tyler Nixon, we only had 3 pages of this incredible manifesto. But clearly what we have is a blueprint for revolution, the game plan for a violent overthrow of the republic. In the meantime, I've had the opportunity to show this document to some of my very best sources inside U.S. Army intelligence, and they confirm that what we're looking at, what we showed our viewers on the Alex Jones show, is very real. What's your take?
Well, it's certainly, I mean, just reading it and reading the words and the verbiage inside of it, it certainly jives with what we have seen from the political left, from the Antifas, from the By Any Means Necessary. And we also have to take into consideration past Project Veritas videos where they get people like Bob Kramer and Aaron Black admitting that they too like to foment, violence and disruptions on the streets. So these are Democrat tactics. Whether or not we can actually verify these exact documents and source them and find out where they came from, that will be a mystery that maybe we can never confirm. However, we can already confirm that the Democrats use these tactics. It goes right along in with Saul Alinsky's handbooks. It goes right along with Rules for Radicals. And it goes right along with everything that George Soros groups are doing in the streets of America. So whether or not we could ever confirm or source these documents, we already have the results from the Democrat protests, from the Soros protests. This is what they're already doing in the country, Roger. So whether or not we confirm those documents, to me, may be relevant or irrelevant. We already know that this is what they're doing in the streets of America. We've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In the wake of the startling revelations regarding Steve Bannon, I'm finding that many of the info warriors, many of those who support Donald Trump, are profoundly confused. How could Steve Bannon, seemingly one of us, one of our foot soldiers, one of our brethren in this fight for freedom, be a deep state quisling? How and why would he jab a dagger directly between the shoulder blades of our president? And that's why I think today is an excellent day to take as many of your calls as possible. You can call us here at the War Room at 1-888-201-2244. That's 1-888-201-2244. This will give Owen and I the opportunity to sort this out for you, because politics is so fast moving. The president has had such an extraordinary 72 hours. There's so much confusion about the DACA conversation going on. Today on the War Room is a spectacular opportunity for us to take your questions and break it all down. That said, there's no limits on what we're prepared to field today as questions. Your questions in any area are on the table now. So again, 1-888-201-2244. A question for the ever dapper Owen Schroyer, or myself right here at the War Room. But as Owen also mentioned in our opening segment, we cannot do this alone. We just don't have multi-billionaire George Soros-type backers standing in the wings writing big checks to keep us afloat. If you like the expansion that Alex Jones has mapped out here, and you heard him say it if you were watching the Alex Jones show, soon we're going to be going to 20 hours a day, well, then we need your support. And there is no better way, no more efficient way for you to support us, in addition to reposting our links that you like in your own social media, than going to the InfoWars store now and taking advantage of some of the extraordinary discounts we have on our most popular and highly tested products. This new product, Immune Wall, is really extraordinary. As many on the InfoWars staff and crew know, I've been fighting a cold now for several weeks. It probably has something to do with the long hours that I put in writing, working my contacts, fighting for freedom, trying to finish another book that'll soon be for sale on the Infowars.com store. And this immune formula is, based on everything I've read, incredible. I have ordered mine today. I'm hopeful that it's on the way. Most interestingly, the organic olive leaf, which is something I have read about, which is very, very hard to find in a pure form, something that goes all the way back to the Roman Empire as a natural substance that is known to boost immunity, is present in the formula, along with Wellmune banker's yeast extract, organic turkey tail, reishi, maktai, and shiitake mushrooms, all known for centuries in Chinese medicine as immunity boosters, along with organic orange and lemon peel, as well as other all-natural, highly tested, and effective ingredients. Now, this boosts the body's defenses, helps strengthen your immune system, helps support healthy function of the immune system, promotes general health and wellness, and assists in fighting fatigue and to boost vitality. I have to believe taking this in conjunction with my favorite, Brain Force Plus, would allow an individual to operate at maximum efficiency and wellness. So do us a favor, do yourself a favor, help us finance the expansion that Alex Jones has mapped out by going to the InfoWars store now. Welcome back. You're at Freedom Command Central. Yes, it's the War Room with your genial hosts, Owen Schroyer and Roger Stone. We've thrown the phone lines open because in this tumultuous period in American politics, there is much confusion. Many asked me, how could Steve Bannon, seemingly a son of the Trump revolution, turn out to be a quisling, denigrating the president, his mental capacities, and accusing his family of treason? But the phone lines are open. Our number, again, 1-888-201-2244 for Owen Schroyer or myself on any topic of your fancy. Owen, I'm going to let you pick the next caller.
All right, well, we've got lines loaded up here, so let's start it off with Chris in Utah, wants to talk Breitbart and Bannon. Go ahead, Chris, you're on the air.
Owen, as always, it is a pleasure to be speaking with you, and an amazing, immense pleasure to be speaking with you, Roger Stone.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's pretend for a minute, let's close our eyes, and let's pretend we are firefighters. They say when there's smoke, there usually is fire. And more smoke, guaranteed fire. So I look over the last year at the landscape. I look over to the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation. I see smoke. Okay, now that's a little fire over there. Okay, fine, whatever, no big deal. I look at Weinstein. There's smoke there. I look at the Hollywood establishment, and the implosion of sexual harassment and assaults and the smoke there. I then look over at data and records. People who have their names on phone or on flight records to the Lolita Express and Epstein's Island. Smoke there. There's so much smoke and so many little fires. Before I even want to start to put these out, I start to want to zoom out and notice it looks more like a spider web, and that they're all connected.
Well, I think Chris is absolutely right, Roger.
We know that the gracious, amazing Oprah, she's, this amazing person that we must all, just esteem and aspire to, cozied up with a Weinstein. We know that Weinstein has had pictures that supported the Clinton Foundation.
Well, let's just be clear here too. I mean, Oprah was never announced that she'd be running for president. That was a media-driven thing, a liberal-driven thing. It's ironic that Trump couldn't run, according to the liberals, just by being a billionaire TV star, but Oprah suddenly is the one who can do it. But I don't think Oprah was ever really going to run because she's well aware of all those skeletons in her closet. But, I mean, I think that Chris is onto something here, Roger. And, I mean, this is what we've been talking about. Yes, there is a connection here, just like there's a connection between Fusion GPS and the Obama DOJ and the Obama FBI. So, yeah, this is a giant spider web.
Well, Chris, thank you for your call. Let's try to pull this all together. It seems to me that the answer is an attorney general committed to the rule of law, an attorney general committed to connecting all the dots, a hard-charging Trump Justice Department led by an attorney general who is interested in uncovering the outrageous corruption of the last 8 years, whether it is Barack Obama and his wife, Bill and Hillary Clinton, and their handmaidens in the mainstream media or in Hollywood. The single greatest disappointment I've experienced so far, among the few in the election of Donald Trump, is the appointment of Jeff Sessions. And I can't figure this out because I liked Jeff Sessions. I admired him when he was in the U.S. Senate. Narrowly, I admit, on the issues of immigration. Is he asleep? Is he compromised? Is he incompetent? What is the story? I saw stunning footage in which he sat in the U.S. Senate, and when asked by a Republican senator why he's not investigating Hillary Clinton, he said he couldn't find anything to investigate her about. Uranium One, Clinton Foundation, Haiti Earthquake Relief Fund theft. The list is as long as my arm, but Jeff Sessions can't see it. I sadly must conclude, based on the extraordinary actions last week in which he outlined a policy completely contrary to the president on the issue of state legalized cannabis, that it's time for this sorry character to step down. Let us have a Trey Gowdy or a Andrew Napolitano or an Andrew McCarthy, someone truly committed to the rule of law as our next attorney general. Oh, and let's go back to the call board.
We've got Steve calling in from Massachusetts. Steve, you are on the air.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
It's going good.
Steve.
I kind of just want to get your guys' opinion on something. I feel like ever since the moment Trump came down the escalator, all that, I was watching a sales pitch, from a guy who actually knows how to sell something. Came in strong. He, proposed a bunch of things, took an extremely hard line, and basically half of the people understood that that's what he was doing, and the other half of the people took him extremely literally. I guess my question is, how do you get the half of the people who basically at this point can't back the president because they've been calling him a Nazi, racist, Klansman, everyone who follows him is this, that, and the third. How can you bring those people into the fold where they can now say, you know what, this actually isn't bad for our country. he actually is solving problems that most of which have been going on for decades by taking such a strong stance and allowing Congress and the Senate to find the middle ground, which solves these problems. I mean, I don't understand why that's so hard for so many people to understand and see, but how can we get them to a point where they do understand it and they do see it and they stop throwing racism around, they stop throwing bigotry around? I guess I was just kind of wondering what you guys thought about that.
All right, I'll go first here, Roger.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that this is it's a bit of a loaded question, Steve, because the element of people that you're actually talking about is actually a very fringe minority. I would say probably less than 5 million people in this country are so committed to Trump is racist that they just will never be able to come around. It's the 20, 30, 40, 50 million people that are just not really that politically aware or politically active, that don't really care. Those are the people we have to win for Trump. The 5 million fringe lunatics, who knows if they'll ever figure it out. But I forget how the saying goes. At first, no one wants to be a patriot because of the cost. But then in the end, I forget how I'm just already butchering it. In fact, we're about to go to a break here. So we'll get Roger's take on the other side of this segment. What do we do about the fringe element of Trump haters out there that just cry racist and Nazi all day? Or are they totally irrelevant? We get Roger Stone's take on the other side, plus more of your phone calls right here on The War Room.
Welcome back. You're at Freedom Command Central. Yes, it's the War Room with Roger Stone and my colleague, Owen Schroyer. I want to address the question that was posed by our last caller, because that day of Donald Trump's formal announcement, a day scoffed at by all the conventional career politicians and the mainstream media pundits, was one of the greatest days of my life. Remember, at that point, I was a consultant to the Trump campaign, a senior consultant, but I was unable to travel to New York for the formal announcement because I'd had surgery on my eye from a detached retina that I sustained in a boxing match. You should not think that that means I'm afraid to climb in the ring with Jake Tapper. As you may have heard on the Alex Jones show less than an hour ago, I will be Alex Jones's second if he gets an affirmative from Brian Stelter. It could be a tag team, Jones versus Stelter. I'll be happy to take on fake Tapper. He's probably 20 years younger than I am, but I will still whip his keister. In any event, what's interesting about that day is that Donald Trump was at least partially working from prepared notes that there had been an enormous effort put into. But you can actually see where he departs from his prepared remarks to speak completely extemporaneously. And it's there that he gets into the question of Mexico shipping us, under our insane immigration policies, some of their worst. Well, the mainstream media put their hair on fire, said, that's it, Trump's finished, he's done, it's over. Of course, he zoomed to the head of the polls, and the rest is history. A day that will go down in history. Donald Trump speaks the common man's language. He speaks in colloquial English that people can understand. I think he has a rapport, Owen, with the American voters, unlike any politician since Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, so I guess it's just a matter of, again, I just don't know if there's any hope for the people that still believe that Trump is a Russian agent or Trump is a Nazi. You know, anybody who still believes that is so clearly out of their minds. They're suffering from some sort of mental impairment, maybe a straitjacket in a rubber room. Hey, but I'm glad to hear, though, that you've just said that you would be Alex's tag team partner and whoop Tapper's keister. I really, wow, that's something that I wish that they would actually take you up on. Somehow I still feel like they're too afraid. Let's take another call here for Roger Stone.
They're cowards. You're absolutely right. They will not take us up on it. They talk big, but Brian Stelter, a man who, as you know, has been caught red-handed, wantonly, openly, flagrantly wearing a dress suit and tie with sandals and no socks. Let's take our next call.
Let's go to Clint in Texas, who would never wear flip-flops with a suit. Go ahead, Clint.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you guys this evening?
Doing good.
Excellent.
All right. Basically, the Bannon thing was kind of covered. I honestly feel, and from what I've seen all over the place, that I feel it's a smokescreen, kind of a misdirection play by Trump. That's kind of my thoughts on that. What do you think about that?
Roger?
Well, expand that for us a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what you mean.
Well, I mean, not to do anything wrong, but maybe this is a small thing for the mainstream media to chew on while Trump goes after bigger and better things. Thoughts?
Well, I must tell you, I don't think so. I'm a veteran of 10 national presidential campaigns. That starts with Richard Nixon through 3 campaigns for Ronald Reagan, that great American patriot Bob Dole, unfortunately, a service as a senior consultant to George H.W. Bush until I learned the truth and authored The Bush Crime Family with St. John Hunt, available now at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, the inside story of the Bush crime syndicate. But I must tell you, the one thing that I think you owe a presidential candidate, particularly a winning presidential candidate who appoints you to high public office when no one voted for you, is your loyalty, is your discretion. The idea that Secretary of State Rex Tillerson has to call a press conference to publicly disagree with the president's comments on Charlottesville, I find that disgraceful. Mr. Tillerson's entitled his view. It's a free country. He's entitled to express that view privately to the President of the United States. But you don't wound the commander-in-chief with a public squabble over a matter which, by the way, Charlottesville, based on everything I can see, does not come under the purview of foreign policy or the State Department. Or then there's Nikki Haley, one of the most virulent anti-Trump critics during the primaries, who has to go on television and say, oh, the women who are falsely accusing Donald Trump of sexual assault, they deserve to be listened to. They may be right. Well, Nikki, why can't you keep your mouth shut? If you feel that way, you have a right to feel that way. Express it directly to the president. Or do you have the nerve? But why must you go public with that? Unless, of course, you're trying to burnish your own reputation for a run for president over my dead body. So this kind of disloyalty, whether it is Tillerson or Haley, or in this case, Steve Bannon. Now, I could understand Bannon's comments if they were after he was fired. I'd chalk it up to animus and anger about being canned. But no, now we learn that he takes Michael Wolff, who is a complete piece of crap. I mean, somebody I've had my own dust-ups with, a man with no integrity whatsoever in terms of journalistic ethics, a guy who's just a stone-cold fabricator, a guy who makes stuff up. But bringing him right into the guts of the White House and spilling your guts while Steve is laying on the sofa in his opulent White House office talking about what an idiot Donald Trump is and how his family's engaged in treason. He deserved everything he got. But now, as I said on the Alex Jones show earlier today, it all comes into play in my mind. All the pieces have come together. Bannon has been a deep state quisling from the beginning. It was Bannon who got General Kelly in place. It's General Kelly who cuts off all alt-right media access to the president. Pardon me. It is also clear that Mr. Bannon had aspirations to run for president himself. Completely and totally ridiculous. We are not going to elect a man president who appears like he's chasing down hobos to get their clothes for his own wardrobe. Oh, and let's go back to the call board. Well, we're almost out of time. Why don't we take this opportunity to remind our audience, thank you very much for your call, by the way, but remind our audience that we are completely and totally listener and viewer supported. There is no better way than for you to go to the InfoWars store now and support us. You'll find our very best products now at some extraordinary discounts, whether it is my favorite, Brain Force Plus, or Survival Shield, Super Male Vitality, Mike Zimmerman's personal favorite, or Secret 12. You can get the very best products at deep discounts and help us fund the extraordinary expansion that you're enjoying on InfoWars right now. Welcome back. You are at the tip of the spear. You are at the War Room with your hosts, Roger Stone and Owen Schroyer. Owen, the GPS fusion scandal has busted wide open through the actions of Senator Dianne Feinstein. The California senator set herself up for an obstruction of justice investigation by releasing the full contents of the investigation and the heretofore sealed GPS Fusion CEO Glenn Simpson's testimony to the Congress. Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Charles Grassley, a true patriot, was absolutely aghast when, without warning, Feinstein released the full transcript in the name of transparency. A spokesman for Senator Grassley called Feinstein's action confounding and said such a move would jeopardize other highly sought witness testimony. Then President Trump jumped into the fray by tweeting, "Sneaky Dianne Feinstein would release testimony in such an underhanded and possibly illegal way without authorization. It's a disgrace." The end result, of course, of Feinstein's action is to provide a script for other witnesses to follow, to keep their stories carefully coordinated and synchronized. Because of this potential, her actions are typically illegal and could be considered obstruction of justice. Taking the chairman, Grassley's statements into light, we see clearly that Trump is right. Let the investigation of Feinstein begin. And then, in another incredibly stunning confirmation of information brought to you here first on InfoWars, Senator John McCain was confirmed as the go-between who passed the phony dossier from its creators to Obama's intelligence network. You heard it here at InfoWars first.
Well, and just going through this report, Roger, actually, I'll get to that in a second. Just a couple quick headlines before I do. You've got, as you said, it looks like they did use John McCain, and I think at this point probably just used John McCain unwittingly. The guy is just, I mean, you know, he's suffering from severe brain loss right now with his cancer there. I think so they just took advantage of his mental impairments. But you also have Trump's attorney, Cohen, is suing BuzzFeed over the infamous dossier. You had Trump today speaking very hard about libel laws. So is he signaling right now to whoever the author of that Russian dossier is, as well as Dianne Feinstein, that they're about to be investigated? But Roger, when you read the release of this document, there's a few things that stick out. If they're going to say that any member of the Trump team or Trump family was guilty of treason because they met with the Russian lawyer Veselnitskaya, well, guess what? That's going to blow back on Fusion GPS, because Fusion GPS and Glenn Simpson also were meeting with Veselnitskaya when they were working on a Bill Browder project. So that means that you had Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS also working with Veselnitskaya before the famous meeting with Trump Jr. even happened. So does that mean he would be guilty of treason too for doing research on Bill Browder? Of course, that's not the case. That's just another thing that they're going to have blowback on them. In the interview with Glenn Simpson, he will not confirm. He refuses to answer questions on how the dossier or why the dossier was created. And of course, confirmed in this release that we already knew, you already had the collusion with the FBI, the DOJ under Obama, and the DNC under Hillary Clinton's control. So it actually ended up being something that Feinstein, I mean, I don't know if she meant for this to kind of actually work in Trump's favor, but to me, that's what happened here.
Well, you know, as I said earlier on the program, they keep telling us that no person is above the law. I wish I shared your benign analysis of John McCain's involvement, but I don't. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. I think he should be grilled by the FBI now. And yes, U.S. senators can be criminally indicted and stand trial just like any other U.S. senator. There's no privilege there. He acted in an underhanded and I think illegal manner, and he too should be prosecuted. If he passes away while he's under indictment, well, so be it. That would be sad. We pray for his speedy recovery, but right is right. From the beginning, he's been a bad actor here. Now, I have said for some time I think he's mentally unbalanced, and perhaps that is due to his health situation, his brain cancer. But this is a man who is so driven by jealousy, by bitterness, by anger, that Donald Trump was able to attain what he, John McCain, born and groomed for the presidency, was never able to achieve. This is truly this is an evil individual. This is someone who has feasted on hundreds of millions of dollars of special interest money while claiming to be an opponent of dark money and money, special interest money in our political system. Godspeed, John McCain. The FBI should be on their way to your office right now to ask you what you knew and when you knew it.
Well, I completely concur with that, Roger. I'd actually like to retrace our steps, if you don't mind for a second, to talk about Michael Wolff and Steve Bannon for a second, because I wanted to put something out there and get your response to it. Michael Wolff is basically going around doing the rounds on media saying that he is the reason that Steve Bannon is out. And I think the reason for some of this confusion amongst Trump's base with the Bannon ouster and then Trump burying Bannon on the heels of this book being fake news is this. First of all, this is completely untrue. Michael Wolff, the book, honestly, in my opinion, and now we'll get your opinion on this, Roger, is not why Bannon was fired. To me, why Bannon was fired is because he cozied up with Miles Kwok, and that's not going to work well for him, especially with the negotiations being the North Korean problem right now and with China. So cozying up to Miles Kwok, that was strike one, if not strike out. But also, we now learned that it was Bannon who was allowing Michael Wolff basically to work in his office. Bannon basically offering Michael Wolff an office to work out of, and thus that's how he got some of these quotes from Bannon. So I think that that's what led to Bannon's ouster, not the fact that Michael Wolff published this book that everybody admits is fake news, including Trump. So that whole weird, I think that that's why a lot of people were confused. Like, why is Bannon ousted over a book that Trump says is fake news? Well, it's because Bannon let the fake news guy in his office, and Bannon was cozying up with Miles Kwok. So that's kind of how I think that that went. And I was just curious, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, look carefully at that photo we're showing right now. Why is this man wearing one button-down shirt on top of another? That is a fashion faux pas. He ought to be indicted for that alone. But putting that aside, of all the people, he literally let the wolf into the henhouse. Michael Wolff is widely known as by Republicans and Democrats and all serious journalists, including mainstream media journalists, as a BS artist. This guy just literally makes things up. When Maggie Haberman of the New York Times, one of the most respected reporters in Washington, goes on CNN and accuses of being a fabricator, you know it's true. So why would Bannon put his trust in someone like that unless Bannon thought that he could shape Wolff's narrative to make Bannon look like a hero? In any event, I believe Steve Bannon is finished as a force in American politics. He clearly is not going to be designing a line of fashionable menswear. The man looks like he chased hobos down to grab their clothing. As Alex Jones pointed out today on the Alex Jones Show, this guy looks like he's never met soap and water. Yet Donald Trump awarded this guy with the highest honor you could have, public service, a position of trust and authority, and Steve Bannon sadly violated it.
And Trump
this is a story of hubris. It's just a story of hubris.
And I think that Trump had to make an example of Bannon just like everyone else. If you get in Trump's way, he will bury you. That's what Trump does, so get out of his way. Roger, one more thing before we let you go. Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner, the report is they call off their divorce, then the lawyers step in and they say, well, hold on, we're not necessarily calling off the divorce, they just want to do it out of court. What do you think the real story here is? I believe they're doing this for legal reasons.
Absolutely. This ensures that they can't testify against each other. You see, these are the rats looking at getting off the ship. As we reported exclusively here on InfoWars last week, the State Department emails released last week were just a small segment of an enormous trove of emails that show corruption, child trafficking, sexual exploitation of minors, and other horrific crimes. These two are locked in a struggle, and therefore I think this is a gambit in which they cannot be used as witnesses against each other. You're on The War Room. Join us again tomorrow, same time and same place.